This is Chapter 9, Lesson 4 on Descriptive Statistics, and this is Part 1. In this section, we're going to cover the mean, median, mode, and range of a data set. The mean, median, mode, and range are called the measures of center, and this is some of the vocabulary terms that we'll go through in this section. The mean is the average, so we'll add all the values up and we'll divide by the number of numbers, and we'll do a couple of examples just to show you that. The median is the middle value, so when the numbers are in order from least to greatest, we can find the middle. The mode is the most often value, or the value that occurs the most. The range is the difference between the highest value and the lowest value. And all these vocabulary terms have their own importance at different times when you're looking at data sets. Here's an example of how to find each one of these. It says the ages in years of people seated in one row of a movie theater are 16, 15, 24, 33, 30, 56, 19, and 19. Find the mean, median, mode, and range of the data set. So this is a good slide, especially when you're doing the extra work, that you can refer to this because it kind of shows the steps. The mean, we added up all of the ages. So right here, we're taking each person within that row and we're adding them up. And since there was 8 people within the row, we divided by 18 when we were finished. Okay. So in your calculator, you type all those values in. You push enter and then divide by 8, and you're going to get your mean, or your average age was 26.5. The median, notice how the numbers are in order from least to greatest. So we started out with the youngest person, which was 15, and went all the way through to the oldest person, which was 56. All right, so you have to order them least to greatest when you're finding the median. Okay. So one thing I like to do when I find the median is I like to cross them out as I start to go towards the middle on each side of the data. So I will say, okay, 15, I cross one off on the left, cross one off on the right. And I continue to do this until I get to either one value left or 2 values. Okay, since we have 2 values here, we actually want to find the middle of these values. Okay, so we have 4 values on the left and 4 values on the right. It's important that you have the same number of values on each side of the middle. Okay, so in order to find the middle of the middles, you would take 19 plus 24 and then divide by 2. So your final answer for the mean would be 21.5 years. The mode is, remember, the most often occurring value. Okay, so since we have 2 19-year-olds, they would be considered to be the mode. Okay, so 19 would be your mode. And then the range is the difference between the highest value and the lowest value. So the oldest person within that row was 56 years old. So we took 56 minus the youngest person, which was 15, and we got a range of 41 years old. Here's some practice problems. I have the vocabulary terms up on the top because I know you're probably not used to those as we go, but we'll try to do our best here. The mean for the first one, we'll go ahead and we'll find, and I kind of jumped the gun here a little bit. I put them in order from least to greatest already. I just like to do that because I like to be able to go to my median right away when I get there. Okay, so when I add up all these values, and you can do this on a calculator, first of all, I like to count, and I like to say, okay, I have 3, 6, 9, 15 values here. Okay, so I know that when I find my mean, I need to divide by 15. So when I add all these values up in my calculator, and then I divide by 15 at the very end, I get a mean which is equal to 68. Okay, so the height of students, I would imagine this is within a class, it'd be the average height would be 68 inches. The median then, I'm going to use my cross out method, I guess you'd kind of call it, on how to get to the middle. Okay, there's different ways that you can do this. You can, a longer list like this, you could probably start by crossing out 2 or 3 at a time from the left side and then the right side. So I'm going to cross out 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and I'm just going to continue this until I get to my middle value, which happens to be that 68. Okay, so median is 68 inches. The mode for this set of data, this brings up an interesting point with the mode. The mode is the most often value, or the one that occurs the most. And if you look at the set of data, and this is another reason why I like to have them in order from least to greatest, is there's actually more than one mode. So there are 2 66s, there are 2 70s. I know this is kind of hard to see from my crossing out. And there's also 2 72s. Okay, so my modes would be all of those: 66, 70, and 72. Okay, so you can have more than one, but the values need to duplicate at least once, and I'll show you that in the next example. As for the range, we'll take the highest number minus the lowest number. So the tallest student was 74 inches. The shortest student was 60 inches. So 74 minus 60 gives me 14 inches. As for the second example, it says the daily visitors at a carnival for 1 week in May are 125, 134, 132, 120, 145, 170, and 150. Find the mean, median, mode, and range of the data set. We're going to round to the nearest whole number when we go ahead and do this. Okay, so once again, I took the data from the actual problem itself, and I put the numbers in order from least to greatest. It just helps me find a few of the different measures of center that we're going to find. So the mean, remember, we're going to add all those up, and we're going to divide by the number of numbers. If I go back to my original problem, I'm going to count my number of numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 values. So I'm going to take those, I'm going to add them up. My calculator, I divide by 7. I get a mean of 139. And what that means is there's an average of 139 visitors for the first week of May. So you got to relate that back to your problem when you go ahead and find these. Next one I'm going to find is the median, which remember is the middle number. So I'm using my in order least to greatest in order to find this. So I cross one off on the left, one on the right. I continue. Looks like 134 is going to be my median. My mode brings up an interesting point. Since none of the numbers repeat more than once, there's actually going to be no mode. And you need to write no mode when you do this, because you can't write the number 0, because 0 could in fact be a mode. Okay, so make sure you write no mode. The last one is the range. Remember, the range is the difference between the highest value and the lowest value. So we're going to take 170 minus 120, and we get 150. And that is how you find the mean, median, mode, and range.